Rent-A-Girlfriend is a bumbling, incompetent mess, and an utter embarrassment to read and watch.
Now, I understand that saying Rent-A-Girlfriend is bad is beyond beating a dead horse. At this point, it's more like digging up the horse's rotting corpse, pissing on it, and running it through a blender. But I still think it's worth having one more laugh at its expense, just to really drive home how it's a perfect example of how not to write a rom-com. Or any story in general, really, if you care at all about having a message or theme of any kind.
So where do I even begin? The worst thing about reading Rent-A-Girlfriend is witnessing such a well-executed and interesting premise slowly decay into a boring, stagnant mush. For such a shit-tier series, the first few chapters are actually great. You've got this bitchless loser kid, Kazuya Kinoshita, who's kind of a creep and has nothing really going for him. And out of loneliness, he uses this girlfriend rental service to rent this beautiful, perfect girl named Chizuru Ichinose. But they end up in this terrible situation where their grandmas think that they're a real couple, so they have to pretend to be together, or else they'll bring shame and embarrassment to both families. But they actually really hate each other. They're just complete polar opposites. Kazuya has no passions or goals of any kind. He's a total weirdo. And then Chizuru is an aspiring actress and extremely hardworking. On top of all that, you have this ticking time bomb factor that renting her out is expensive as shit. And Kazuya's dad only gave him a limited amount of money for college, so he's slowly running out of time before he has to come clean. Oh, and he has this psycho ex that's trying to break them up. Now, if that isn't a promising and funny concept, I don't know what is. All the pieces were in place. I was ready. I was like, all right, it's gonna be the slow burn rom-com where they hate each other at first, but slowly grow fond of each other. You know, this Kazuya guy is such a little bitch, such an emotionally immature asshole. He's probably gonna have this great character arc where he has to stop being so lame, learn to stop lying to people, grow up and get a job so that he can actually stand shoulder to shoulder with this awesome and interesting girl that he loves. And it's gonna be this heartfelt comedy, right? Oh, wait. Kazuya is a pathetic shit stain, and his only redeeming quality is that he's really good at being Chizuru's pay pig and helping her achieve her dreams without any regard for his own well-being. For Kazuya, character development comes in the form of, how much more of my money and time can I spend on making this girl happy who isn't even into me? He has no passions or hobbies of his own. He doesn't have any aspirations other than to take over the family convenience store, and above all, he is completely blind to what's right in front of him. In a classic harem move, the main love interest Chizuru isn't even remotely into him for hundreds of chapters. She's just constantly giving him obvious signs to just move the hell on. While at the same time, all these other equally attractive girls are practically throwing themselves at him. The most laughable example of this is Ruka, this girl who falls madly in love with him and proclaims herself as his girlfriend and constantly obsesses over him, and is explicitly described as being as attractive as Chizuru, yet he never once has any shred of actual interest in her. It really defeats the purpose of having him be this loser archetype who wants the beautiful girl when there's already a girl like that who wants him, and he just sort of pretends that she doesn't exist for the plot convenience of him wanting the only girl that doesn't want him back. He also does this annoying bit where he has these full-page monologues about how beautiful Chizuru is. Like, this shit never ends. I have at least 18 examples of it happening. And also, he's just obnoxiously nervous at anything Chizuru does. And at the beginning, it's like, okay, yeah, y'all just met, we get it. But when on chapter 176, he's still freaking the fuck out when she just rings his doorbell, when they are literally neighbors. What fuels the excitement of a slow burn rom-com is that desperation the reader feels to see the couple get together. But that never exists in Rent-A-Girlfriend, because I don't want to see them get together. It would be a damn tragedy to see such a great girl end up with such a schmuck. Kazuya is right. He doesn't deserve her. Literally, all the girls deserve better, except for his ex, Mommy, who only shows up every 50 chapters when it's convenient to create drama, which actually is always a much needed twist to progress the plot, because nothing ever happens in the story. Ever. Rent-A-Girlfriend is not a series you can look at and say, you know, it's a matter of opinion whether or not you think the story is good, you know? Glass half full or glass half empty? No. The glass is completely empty. There is no story to scrutinize. Whenever anything of value is even hinted at happening, it's interrupted or glossed over, and the plot is repetitive and stagnant. The first arc of the story is their aquarium date. 80 chapters in, they go on another date that is nearly identical in content, because the status quo has not changed at all. 160 chapters in, another date. But the crazy twist this time is that he's spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to make it the perfect date ever. All of these dates are entire story arcs, by the way. Oh, and none of them are real dates either. He's just renting her out. Like she's literally just doing her job. Which makes you wonder, does she even have feelings for him in the first place? Great question. On chapter 127, we get our answer. I don't love him, but I don't not love him either. Woo! Anything else that made the premise interesting also just becomes irrelevant. The whole ticking time bomb of being discovered as a rental just kind of fades away for long periods of time, only to resurface randomly way later. Characters like his childhood friends, his ex, and the grandparents disappear for entire arcs. Also, remember how he was slowly running out of money? He just gets a job off screen. Like, they don't even make it into a chapter or anything. He just randomly has a job one day. It would be a perfect opportunity to see some character development for once, but nope. It's honestly impressive how Reiji Miyajima avoids any plot development from happening. Get this, okay? Chapter 174, he still hasn't confessed to her, but now he's finally gonna tell her how he feels, right? She just asked him straight up, do you like me? But nope, the waiter interrupts them, and she's like, never mind. Then later, that same chapter, he tries to tell her outside their apartment. Literally, in the middle of his sentence, his friends pull up, so he can't tell her anymore. You think that's stupid? This is just the beginning. Chapter 180, he's about to tell her again. She runs away into her apartment because she's freaked out by his expression. Next chapter, he rings her doorbell, but before he can tell her, she reveals that his psycho ex knows that she's just a rental, which kills the mood. Chapter 184, he rings her doorbell again, but this time, right as he's saying it, his phone rings and Ruka is calling him. It's like, alright, it can't drag on much longer than this, can it? Chapter 212. He still hasn't confessed, and the crown jewel of the series has come. The Hawaii vacation arc, where Miyajima expertly dodges every single opportunity for plot development. Kazuya chases Chizuru around the resort and finally corners her. He's about to say it. She interrupts him and says, "Don't say it!" and runs away. But finally, Kazuya's grandma discovers that Chizuru is just a rental, and they have to come clean about everything. No more lies, right? Nope. Chizuru continues the lie and says, No, we actually are together, even though I'm just a rental. Oh, that was in the past. And then the arc ends, and nothing has changed. Somehow, even after the big secret that has been carrying the plot this entire time has been revealed, they're still lying to everyone, and he still has to confess. She then ghosts him for 3 months. Chapter 240. He finally confesses. She says she still doesn't know how she feels about him. He says, don't worry, even if it takes 10 or 20 years, I'll wait for your answer. From here on, and up until its most recent chapters, the story has decayed further as there's no longer any sense of urgency or excitement other than waiting for Chizuru to decide whether she likes him or not. Okay, for example, chapter 260 is entirely dedicated to them brushing teeth together, and Kazuya is still freaking out and excited about this, despite them having known each other for 2 years by now. That is the entire 30-page chapter. It's just them brushing teeth. The only arc where anything of value happens is when Chizuru's grandma dies, and it's honestly the best arc in the entire series. Chizuru is unironically a compelling character that deserves to be in a much better manga. And even despite this, I was not even slightly emotionally affected by it. I actually physically laughed out loud when the grandma just randomly falls out of her wheelchair and dies. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, but I was just so uninvested in the story. It's honestly tragic how much potential Rent-A-Girlfriend has shit away and flushed down the toilet at this point. There's so many directions it could have gone that would have been infinitely better than whatever this steaming pile of manure we got is. Like, why not give Kazuya just 1 or 2 great likable qualities so that their relationship actually makes sense and have it be a slow burn where they mutually despise each other at first but have to keep up appearances but mutually grow fond of each other despite having Mommy be the antagonist tricking Kazuya into falling for her instead. Or have Ruka be the one he ends up with but he has to get over his one-eyedness for Chizuru and it's a story about the dangers of being irrationally attached to someone. Or have the guy that likes Chizuru be a cool, mature figure and Kazuya has to go on a slow journey of self-improvement where Chizuru hates him for being a creep and he realizes he doesn't deserve her, but by the end he's actually a cool guy. I mean, just think of all the potential themes to explore just from the premise alone. You've got the dangers of lying and digging deeper holes, the importance of having hard conversations with the people you love, wanting versus deserving a girlfriend, the dangers of fantasizing versus appreciating what's right in front of you, growing up and maturing and learning how to not be a creep, maybe even a social commentary on why it's bad to even have rental girlfriends. Like, what kind of sick society even has those? Like, what is the moral of the story? Get way too invested in a girl's personal life without her asking you to, spend all your disposable income on her, and she will suddenly develop feelings for you. Great! I'm not kidding, by the way. This is explicitly stated at one point. It sucks because Miyajima can obviously write good shit. The whole grandma dying arc is solid. Chizuru's backstory is really well written and endearing. A lot of the side characters are pretty entertaining. The humor is also kind of hit or miss, but there are honestly times I genuinely laugh out loud. It could have been great great if there was any intention for this to be a great story, but that was never the goal of this series. The fact is, Rent-a-Girlfriend, like most serialized manga, is playing the infinite game. It's not meant to have a profound ending that everything leads up towards. It's just meant to keep playing as long as possible. And that means introducing as many new marketable girls as possible and never ever letting the main character get with the love interest. I've officially stopped reading around chapter 277. I don't know if it turns into Shakespearean poetry after this, but I highly doubt it considering I skipped to chapter 310 and he's still doing the same shit. I really don't know what else to say. If you're a fan of Rent-a-Girlfriend, I mean, you're entitled to like whatever you want. But anyone that thinks this series is well written or meaningful or anything beyond shallow waifu pandering should probably seek psychiatric help immediately and go read Nagatoro or Love is War instead. Or, you know, play My Horse Prince.